Morning, everyone. Welcome to our new and improved fun-filled show of Introduction to iVend Demostack Part 2. In case you missed Part 1, that is on the City Access Knowledge Portal. I am your host, Keith Morrison, the Manager Consulting for Africa, and I'm here to go show you how exactly Demostack works and how best to use it in a demo. So, once again, if you have any questions, please go and write them in the question box, and I will try and answer them as soon as possible. Please do not hold your questions to the end. I'd rather go and answer them sooner than later. That way, I can at least try and answer them more or less in the specific area that they're in, and we can actually get on with it and get things sorted out. Now, one other thing I do actually want to go say is we have a huge turnout today. Absolutely huge turnout today, I suppose, is one of the more popular sayings. But yeah, that's from, I can see we've got north, south, east, west. Everyone's come here. Right there. I didn't even know we had partners in Antarctica. Never mind. Okay, moving on. So, but thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much for taking your time out from your day to actually come and join me on this one. So let's go through and just have a look at this. Today we will be focusing more on the management console side. Last time we focused very much on the POS side. So this time around we can focus on management console and see exactly what you can do there. And the nice bits to really go and show people and go get them interested in iVend. So as you can see, I've kept in some of the previous points from the agenda. What is the Demostack, iVend Demostack, and the Omnichannel. How to demo the Omnichannel with the Demostack, and how to use the management console in the demo is now the new point that we're focusing on today. Now, once again, we have already done a theory webinar about the Omnichannel. And in part 1 of this series, I went and I did we went over the actual POS, how you can use that, the different points and places that really work well with it. Today, we're going to go focus on management console. Okay, right. Now, the management, and one thing I do want to point out is that, yes, this is one of our favorite slides. Yay, everybody loves it. But the one thing I do want to point out is that management console doesn't actually really appear on the list of things over here. I mean, we've got iVend Enterprise, and then iVend POS, mobile, e-commerce, loyalty, iVend POS, and reporting and analytics. Well, technically it does, because that falls over here, iVend Enterprise. So, right, that would be management console is the main way you set up the enterprise, main way you set up the store. And as you'll see, a lot of the setups for iVend are in the management console. That's very, very deliberate, because obviously we want to go make sure that, obviously we don't want people going and fiddling around at the point of sale and being able to change things. We want the point of sale to be as simple as possible. I don't want to say idiot-proof, but as foolproof as possible. Right there we go. That's perhaps a nice way of saying it. So as foolproof as possible, particularly because we all know that people when they're bored, will find things to do. And this way, at least, we can make sure that people do they're corralled in their section. They don't go wandering off into different points saying, hey, I wonder what happens if I change this date. And then all of a sudden we get a call, your system's broken. Yeah, no, right. We're not doing that. So, and it's very deliberate that we don't do it that way. Okay. Now, the other thing I do also want to point out is that, yes, and we've been through this slide over here from the slide over here before, from the omnichannel perspective. But the big thing is for the omnichannel is, while it is providing the consumer at the front end all this information, that's not really that useful without the back end, which is the management console. Go and actually say, okay, and it's kind of mentioned over here with the data from one channel is used to inform processes in the other. That's management console stuff we're looking at. And as well as just going and making sure, as well as single stock pool. Yep, that is one of the others. So those are all things that do happen on this side. And please remember, iVend is a complete system that we're looking at. So from one end to the other, we need to go and be able to control exactly what goes in. And the management console is the point of that control. So with that, I'm then going to go and end the show over there, and we might come back and actually go and skip across to here. And this is the deployment landscape, and many of you will be familiar with this, obviously. And the one thing I do want to go point out is that, once again, you don't see the management console over here, except the management console is obviously set up at the enterprise server. You need that. That is the back office solution. Same thing that's set up as the store manager station over here. This thing. It is the same. Exactly the same thing. That's how it is. So with that, let us actually go across to management console. And here you go. You can see you can get things like dashboards. But let's actually go and have a look at some of the features that do go pop up. Now, one of the first things that I always do enjoy, particularly as a way to move from point of sale over here to your management console, is to go and actually bring up your promotions over here. Now, in your standard definition of your demo stack, indeed your demo database, this number over here, 100-109, will trigger a demo. Yes, it will trigger a demo. No, it will go and trigger a bonus buy. So we're going to enter that, and clearly my machine has not had its morning coffee yet. We'll go see that it actually goes and it pops up, and right, there we go, and it goes and it brings a buy X, get 50% off on Y. Now, this is a this over here is one of the standard discounts that retailers give. Retailers live or die by discounts. I believe I've mentioned that before. And this over here is one of the very handy ways to actually go show retailers this. And the nice thing about this is that once you select it over here and click OK, you'll see it comes up in a different color. And with that, we can actually go across to our management console over here. And then with that, I can go say, okay, this is how it looks. Let me show you how it gets set up. And with that, that's a nice way to go come across here. And that is something that I do find that does happen in a lot of presentations. We get into the pos and it's looking great, and people go and it's looking great. They say, oh, I like the colors and I like this, and it's all shiny, and you go and you push here and it does this, and the doodad does that, and right there, la la la. But then all of a sudden, and then we go say, now we need to go across to management console, and everyone goes, okay, why? Or it's just a bridge to try and get across here, and it's always that one bit in, because typically with most demos is you're demoing all in one specific window. With us, we do have two separate windows for two separate programs. So this is a nice way to come across. You can go say, okay, and then we come over here and let's have a look at, and let me show you how this bonus buy is set up. Now, our bonus buys over here, the nice thing are pretty comprehensive, and this is why I always recommend everybody installs Management Console. Yes, I always recommend you install Management Console. Install it everywhere. But at the same time, this is why I recommend you install Demostack on your machines, because then you're able to go and reference exactly how things actually go and look in over here in your actual system. So with this, we can go do things like, you can come across and reference it and see exactly how things are set up, because over here, this is at least give you a starting point if somebody goes and says, how do I set, can we do buy one, get one free? Well, here's buy one, get 50% off. So yes, that at least if you're inexperienced with this and inexperienced with retail, then at least you can come over here and say, buy X on this and get 50% off on X. Hey, I've got all these ones over here. I can at least reference it and find out how things are working. So buy X, get 50% off on Y. Once again, this is a fairly standard one. And the nice things that you can point out over here, the effective dates, effective times, which is something that a lot of other systems don't have. And then as well you can start to go down. The one thing I'm always tempted to do, and please don't do this, because I do realize I am the technical guy. I do really love the program, and I really like to go through it. But the one thing I don't recommend that you do is go through every single line. You will get. I've seen it happen, and I've seen demos lost. I've seen deals lost because of that. But try and go through it as quickly as possible. And please, and the other thing is the normal ones that I would go point out are things like maximum redemption count per store. And this is actually quite important because this is and if you can go tie it together with something like, I do happen to know this, is that, for instance, Apple does do this, maximum redemption count per store. First, 100 people pass the door, get the deal. Well, 100 people pass the till, get the deal in this case, but the same logic. Can you repeat it in a transaction? Right there. How many times is it applicable? What's the lowest value? And point out things like exclude discounted items, because that's quite important. Because, like I said, retail is built on discounts, and discounts on discounts can kill a retail business. Particularly if it's you can essentially end up giving away the store, which is exactly what you don't want to do. You want to go and discount it to that razor sharp knife edge, to the point where you can actually go and to that point where you can actually go say, okay, this over here is this amount, this over here is for this. So this over here is profitable, this over here is unprofitable. So that's the point that you really want to hit it at. So, and exclude discounting items is very good. The other one over here, and I do get this mentioned sometimes, is apply an item scan. Now, this over here is a bit more technical. This is if you want to do what's called a best basket buy. Now, a best basket buy is if you want to do for instance, I go and I load up a whole load of items over here, 100, 103, 100, 102, and then 100, 106. Okay, right. And there we go. So it's loaded up a whole batch of items, and then when I go payments, the system will run through all the items that I got and determine whether I have discount, if I have a combination that makes a discount. That is a requirement of some retailers. That is the way that they do run some of their retail. That's also something that you need to have a look at, and that's something that you can mention to them that they are going to be interested in. A lot of retailers, I find, as soon as they see that you have a promotions engine or promotions section, then you can go say, hey, we do this. They may go a bit further and go say, hey, I want a bit more, I want to know a bit less, or whatever it is. But at least you can go say, hey, we have this, apply an item scan. And then one of the big selling points I do find for iVend is this one over here, which is our promotional color. Now, as you saw over here, that is one of the things that has popped up. This is one of the things that is very important. And a reason that putting a color in like this is very important is you can turn around and say, hey, the cashier, people can clearly see we have gone and given this discount. Because, don't get me wrong, right there, while 9 out of 10 people might not notice that the discount has not been applied, right there, it's that 10th person who will go around and tell the other 9 people that they didn't get their discount, who you need to worry about. So with this way, you can go say, hey, discount applied. As well, it's also a nice thing to go show the different colors that are here. People can go say, ooh, ah. Once again, it's the Demostack guys. It's Demostack guys. Nice talking and selling points is always right up there. And the other thing to go point out with this is that with it, you can also go, if you go, okay, to just point this out, it's a left click to go and bring up this color menu. And then on these white squares down here, it's a right click to go bring up your color, to go bring up your custom color menu. At which point you can go say, well, then you've got, I think it's 65,000 colors or something like that you can use. So once, of course, 65,000 colors right there. You can make a joke about, I'm not sure if you'll have 65,000 promotions, but yeah, don't just, yeah. Okay, so that's over there. You can go set this up. If you want to go change the color, feel free. And you can go and define custom colors even for this. So that is something to go put up here. It is something nice, and it is something that people can go say, oh, that's nice. And then, yeah, try and avoid things like this over here, apply once, where you have to really go and explain it. What I would recommend is that if you do want to know more about it, once again, and the one thing I always tell everybody who I teach, Control F1. Right. Then you can go through and you can actually show that over here. Yeah, this is, okay, right there. When it says set this option once per customer, it's once per registered customer in the system. So, but still try and avoid that, because otherwise you need to go bring up the, you need to do exactly what I did. Bring up the help, show this, show that, all the rest of it. But then once, also, and one other thing I used to do is I used to go through each of the buttons one by one. Now I just go applicable. Okay, and then with that we can then go through and we can show this. So over here, and this is one of the things that people do really like about iVend is, you know, it's the one thing that I try and mention in all of my demos that I do, is that iVend is both flexible and scalable. And I use them because then, one, they're nice big words. Two, they sound professional, and they are pretty professional, if I do say so myself. And three, they also go. It also goes and it highlights certain points that people want from a system. People want a system that is flexible. They 9 times out of 10, that's why they're moving from the old system. My old system doesn't do blah. You know, my old system can't go beyond 5 stores before it starts hanging up. You know, that kind of stuff is really where we are now going to go, and it's really where we are now. We are sitting, and that's really where we can go and where we can win with the demo stack. And by going and pointing out, highlighting things like the days of the week, and as well the times of the days of the week. So normally over here I do go switch that to PM, because obviously it is obviously the normal one over here is well, the normal time over here you normally put that at is in the afternoon. But you can go say, look, you can go put this on, and then also remember with the demo stack is that while it does cater for a number of situations, it does not cater for every situation. And you can go customize and give an example of exactly how they might want to use this. But essentially this allows you to go put in what would be a happy hour, and you can go slot that in, and you can go and have that there. Other nice things to point out is customer special days. Hey, right there, we got the loyalty levels. Hey, we've got the special days for customers. You know, that's, and also try and make it. How can I put it? Try to make, for me, I've found with my demos is I try to make it slightly personal. Hey, it's your birthday. You know, happy birthday. Have this. And if you can go put something like that in, then at least it does add a bit on for the actual customer themselves when you're demoing this side of iVend. Beyond that, you've also got your applicable source. And yeah, I know it does say that, but you can also go say, hey, I can set this per store. I can set this per loyalty level. And then you can also start to go say this now, and that the loyalty level thing is going to start building into the next spot that we go to, really, when we're doing a demo. Okay, and beyond that, we can then go to setup. I normally leave out the exclusion list simply for one very simple reason. Exclusion list, people get confused by this. It's very logical to me, but it's not always something that people want to look at. So we can say what's applicable, particularly we can say what's applicable, and then we go to setup. The reason I don't go to exclusion list is because it actually sits before setup, and it doesn't make sense to exclude something before setup, even though that's essentially what you'd be saying over there. And then over here you can come, and normally what I'm doing over here is I'm trying to go add in a couple of lines over here specifically so that people can go and realize, so that people can go look at this and go say, oh, okay, right. Because normally when we get here to this point, if I go cancel and I go back to setup, they see 2 lines. Fascinating, right there. But if I can go add in a couple of extra lines, I can go say, okay, right, hey, look, you know, you can go here, and then on this side you can go product group, product category. And remember, this is also part of looking at your omni-channel side of things about how to promote this to your customers. So you can then, and this is the nice thing about having both the product groups and the product categories over here. And I have done demos like this before where we've had to go say, pick something from a product group, give something from a product category. And those will actually go and give you something that you can go work with, and you can go put together. Well, that you can go say, okay, get a product group, get something from this product group, take something from that product category. That will go give you a much better way of actually going and looking at this, of actually going and demoing it, as well as if you need to go and give different discounts in different places, you can go put those together for this. You can go put those together using this and walk through each of these, you know, what value is, quantity, amount, and how it's mandatory or not. And that will go help and just give people a better idea about how everything works here. So, but also, and well, the last thing I do want to point out over here is on the get item side, one of the things here is loyalty points, and that is and that also starts to tie back into our omni-channel side of how we're looking at iVend and how things go fit together. So, with that in mind, I'm just going to come back here and just point out the last things. Sometimes you are going to want to give discounts on serial or batch, and you can point that out as well. But from here, we can go across to our next loyalty point, to our next loyalty system that we really look at. And to our next omni-channel system, which is loyalty. As I've mentioned before in part one, and even in the previous webinar to that, loyalty is one of the drivers of omni-channel. So let's go and have a look at loyalty then. And the loyalty over here in iVend is, one, please remember it can be deployed individually, so it can be deployed by itself. And also we normally have a loyalty program, well, a loyalty program per region, and I'll come to exactly why in a minute. Okay, so let's have a look at the loyalty program. Now, the loyalty program that we have over here, and obviously when you set up the demo stack, it comes with your basic one. You can just go set it up. You can just use that. And you, as you go through, but point out things like the registration method, registered on customer code, how to use the card, how the card management works, and this also is where it goes and this is also where you can start to go point out the omni-channel pillars and how the omni-channel really goes and fits in with this. Now, remember that with our two omni-channel pillars, both stock and customers, this is really one of the things that goes and draws people in for the customer side. And loyalty is something that goes and varies between that really varies between countries. I've found that in some cases people go and get different impressions about how loyalty should work, or in different countries they seem to have different ways of how they do it. And so, in a lot of ways, people are beginning to view loyalty as a bit of a trap, because it's not easy to. Loyalty is not designed to necessarily typically with a loyalty program, you don't give away a lot of points in the beginning. You give away points to the people who invest in the program, as it were. The problem is that the problem is with loyalty, and I think everybody knows this, is that your investment, unlike say a bank account where you will earn interest, your investment in loyalty is never going to go and accrue interest. So, you know, whatever you put into the loyalty system, it's just, hey, I get something out extra. So the entire purpose of a loyalty program is to try and say, hey, you're getting, is to go and give the person the idea that, hey, you're getting value for money. And that is something that, can be a bit difficult to try and get across, particularly with some systems. They go and they seem to be a case of, give us all your money and we'll throw some points at you. And it's very important for the omni-channel, and if you're interacting with your customers, that they don't think that. Even though that is kind of what a loyalty program is, the entire idea is that you don't necessarily want to go and disclose that to not disclose that. The customer knows that, and we have to realize that customers are people. some of them are actually very smart. So not every customer is a sucker. In fact, a lot of them are. In fact, if you look at it, we are all customers, and so a lot of us are also at the receiving end of these things. So you have to realize that the person running the loyalty program and how it's set up has to appear to give value for money, and indeed should give value for money. So this over here, how you're going to define your allocation methods, your points, all the rest of it. This over here is really really depends on which region you're in. I've seen in some of the Far East regions, I've seen they do tend to go and focus on almost it becoming a trap, where you get no points in the beginning, but once you get up to the higher levels where you have points, then you actually get a lot of bonuses. So that's also something to just be aware of. And using the iVend system, here, using this, you can go show, hey, how are we going to award points? Is it total points? Well, how people get to their levels? Is it points? And also the other thing to point out is it currency? One thing to go and warn people about once again is that if it's points or if it's currency, particularly if it's currency. I do know that in some countries they specifically exclude loyalty points from giving currency. Please check your local regulations for that, because in some cases people start using it like a bank. That is something, and then the financial regulators get all over it, and that's something that we don't really want to deal with. So, right, it's up to you guys to go set it up correctly. But you can go through and point out things like the award criteria. And this is very important because this determines how your loyalty plan works. Right? The things that people really like, customers really like to see, specifically when you're demoing using the Demostack, is your special days. Because let's face it, everybody loves a birthday, you know. I know the supposed thing is that as we get older, oh, another birthday, you know, but still, you know, it is something nice. You get presents and, hey, you know, friends, family, all the rest of it. But that is something that you have that is something that's there, and that you can go point out, hey, you know, this is the flexibility we give. This is the scalability we give. This is how iVend works with the omni-channel to go give you the ability to go and maybe to go and attack the system. When I say attack the system, to go and view and operate the channels that you have to your customer in different ways that other systems don't. And this is definitely one of them with the loyalty program. By going and doing the special days, the days backwards, days forward, try and avoid things like conflict resolution basis and method. They are, once again, don't go through each of these. Just try to pick one or two, because otherwise you will go and put the guys to sleep. But one thing I do want to point out when you are showing this is do the points expiry method over here, and you can also go put in different rows just to go show, okay, this is a sliding row, and what I mean by sliding is that you've got 365 days from the point of purchase. So when the customer goes and buys something to when they need the expiry points. The other one over here is the fixed expiry method, which is it all expires at a certain date. And you can also point out that you can have different customer types or different customer levels. So for instance, this over here might be my platinum level, whereas on my bronze level, and you can kind of see how it can get into a bit of a trap, because the closer towards the end of the year you get, then the closer towards the point when these things expire is coming. And so this is kind of encouraging people, buy more before the 31st of the 12th, and then right there move up to another level, at which point your points will get saved. So yeah, you see, that's also where loyalty can be a bit of a trap. So that's also kind of what people want loyalty to be. But also today I see in the West, a lot of them are going much looser on their loyalty, because the thing is that unless people are really in and active and how can I put it, that I know in gaming technology, in gaming parlance, particularly for the free-to-play games or the premium games there, they refer to them as whales, because these are people who just spend money on the game. They're there, they're spending money, which is typically only really about 1% of your entire gaming population. So that's really like maybe 1,000 people. I mean, if you look at things like Angry Birds and what's the other one? Candy Crush. Candy Crush was an excellent example of the freemium model. The game is free to play. But hey, you want that extra, I have got no idea what they are, but the extra candy hammer or something, or a little add-on that just, hey, you know, you can start the game with maybe a bit more, bit something, or some sort of candy mine or whatever it is, to go and actually go and pass that level that you can't quite get past. Then, hey, you got to go and then, hey, spend 99 cents. And that's really a treadmill that you can get some people on. And it's the gamification. Loyalty is gamification as well. That's why I do mention things like Candy Crush. But you're getting people into that mindset so that they will go after it. But what a lot of loyalty programs have found is that, yes, you can get some people do fall into that category. There's a very specific personality type. It's also normally associated with gambling and alcoholism. So not always the greatest, but quite literally people will be sitting there going and saying, oh, no, I need to go get to this point at this time to get my double extra coupon points day. Whereas in this particular case, a lot of the Western programs are going and saying, sure, well, we'll rather just loosen up a bit and we'll just give you points. We'll give you more points. Because then all of a sudden, if people go think, hey, I just got points for, I wasn't expecting points. That's the way that they get you. The second you go say, I wasn't expecting points, or hey, I've got more points than I expected. Hey, I didn't realize I had all of these. Then all of a sudden people go, actually, hang on, wait a minute. This is actually a way to go and get points. This is a way to go forward. This is actually worth it. The second that somebody says that about a loyalty system, that's the foot in the door that you want. And with the loyalty programs over here, and you can show with the gamification, hey, you're earning your points. Hey, your points are worth something. Then you can do that. So once again, show that, and this is the one thing you can show over here, specifically with iVend and specifically with the omnichannel, depending on your region and your market. You can go say, hey, we can get people hooked in on your loyalty system and more interested in your loyalty system than if you go with anyone else. So, all right. So this is the next real big thing to go show people is your loyalty system, your loyalty points, and how they're set up. The other thing you can also show is the referral setup. So, bonus points on registration, and this is something that's quite nice in iVend, is we can say, hey, right, I sign up Jan. When Jan makes when I signed up, Jan goes and says on his form, Keith signed me up. Jan, I get points for signing up other people. That's great. Hey, when Jan does his transaction, I get points. Hey, when he does this, and guys, this is something, if you are thinking Amway or Questar or whatever they call themselves now, yep, that is kind of what it is. Be careful about going and showing this, because some people will pick that up, and a lot of people have got bad experiences with Amway. Having said that, some people have got very good experiences with Amway, so gauge your audience. Okay, but this over here on the main loyalty program side is the main point you really want to show. Skip across. Okay, you can show special days right there. Don't get me wrong. Special days is something. Special days is actually quite nice to have, because you can say, hey, it's your store's 30th. It's your store's 10th anniversary. It's your company's 30th anniversary. Whatever it might be, you can put it over here, and they can say, oh, okay, all right. Hey, I could put on a special for that. But it's something that you can really go show in the later down here by loyalty plan, as opposed to doing it up here. The loyalty notifications is something nice to show, but you don't actually need to go into the loyalty notifications, basically because the actual loyalty notification emails are hiding over here in administration, application setup, and email and SMS templates. Rather actually come across here and then just, if you can remember the actual route, and come across here and say, hey, then you can do this. And there's some very nice things to show in the email and SMS template, such as embedded YouTube videos, which nobody ever used. Nobody's ever used. I don't think I've ever received an email with an embedded YouTube video. Maybe like 5 years ago. But still, anyway, it's nice to put there because you can go say, hey, you can put this there. At which point people go, that's interesting. And that just goes and gives, once again, it's that extra little bit, that hidden point of iVend that really goes and helps. As well as, depending on how technical the people you're showing, you can go say, hey, you can put in the HTML edit mode, or you can do the preview mode, or whatever the case is. You can show that, as well as also, yes, there is actually a spell check in here. So, which, believe it or not, I have been asked for. I mentioned the spell check quite deliberately because, yes, spelling counts in emails. And you just need to be very careful. Right, I believe that this is, so searching for that. I believe this goes interfaces with your actual spell check on here. So with the actual word spell check. So it should be correct. But just remember it is there, which is also quite nice. Unfortunately, like I said, that is actually outside the loyalty area, and you see it does take a couple of clicks to get back. So if you are going to demo it, kind of make sure that you know the path, because otherwise you go, yes, it's just, I think it's, no, wait, it's, no, where was it again? No, I thought it was over here. No, wait. And by now you've lost the audience. So, rather, as I can see, yes, I put everyone to sleep. Okay, right there. So, no, just remember, you know the correct path, and then you'll get there quickly. And please remember, guys, this is one thing in the other thing you can. This is one thing in iVend, is that the screens tend to stack up on top of each other, and you've got no way to really know which ones are different. But yeah, you can go and at least if you remember the ways to get there, you will be able to get there quickly. The other way you can go and do it is if you go to, you can come over here, leave loyalty open, and then just type in email. And it will bring up the email SMS template. Okay. And then you can just come back here, go to loyalty, and bring up the notification levels. But normally I then skip across. Normally I go to loyalty level plan. You don't need to go in. Just remember to sort by minimum value, otherwise it looks all a bit out of order. And you can talk quickly about this. Once again, this is, you do want to go and show the customer, you do want to show the customer, the store owner, how we can make loyalty a bit of a trap that, hey, buy with us or otherwise you're going to lose money. You can show them how they can use this to bring their consumers, their shoppers in. At the same time, you also want to show them that, hey, you don't need to be evil McGreedy pants and go and just try and screw people out of their money and their points. So yes, that is something that you do want to be, that you do want to show, and you want to give it both ways, because once again, judge your audience. And yes, like I've said before, in the omni-channel, and indeed in the omni-channel, I believe we actually had it over here, is actually, funnily enough, on here we do not mention loyalty, but loyalty is one of these things that does come in, and if people that is coming in basically right from the promotional offer all the way through to your actual delivery over here. Well, down to certainly down to your POS levels over here. And that is something that you do need to go and just show, is that, hey, it is here, it is driving this, and your more loyal customers. That's essentially what it is. You're rewarding your loyal customers. The entire idea is these people are going to be loyal anyway. Let's give them something back. So the next point I do try and show is loyalty plan. And please remember, when you're showing these things, the best thing you can do is to go say, hey, it's it's like that Woolworths card, or it's like that Pick and Pay Smart Shopper card, to use South African examples, Tesco card. I think they have a Tesco card, if I remember correctly. Or your, I know there's a Club Carlson card, which is also big in America, which I seem to remember. But it's a loyalty program that is, hey, this goes and draws people in. Try use local examples. Then people actually understand. They go, oh yeah, I remember how that works then. Because otherwise it's just going to go straight over people's heads and it's all a bit theoretical. So let's have a look over here. Loyalty plan, basic plan, and yeah, and this will come through over here. Please remember that, and this will come through, and you can go show your codes, your descriptions, your plan types, normal, special days for customer. This is normally where I point out this. Like I said earlier, I don't normally show the loyalty special days over here. I normally come over here and say special days and explain what it is there, instead of opening up an entire another screen. Special days for customers. The reason I don't want to open up another screen for that is it just bombards people with screens. They just get screens coming at them, hitting them left, right, and center. Okay, start date, end date, and you can go through each of these over here. Then finally, and normally I do say don't go through every single field. There are points where you do want to go through every single field, and this is one of them that I feel, because the one thing with loyalty is, once again, flexibility and scalability. That is what people want. Now, what we can do is, what we can do here with this is we can go through and say, okay, first off, avoid the exclude thing. It is very important, but right there, rather go with the, rather go over here straight to customer type. And you can, and normally other top tip is hide that. Then at least it goes and it takes up the whole page here. If you've got your resolution dialed up like I have, then you can go see the whole thing here, as opposed to it being halfway off the screen over there on the side. Other thing you can do as well, right click, and I think we can't do best fit here. Okay, all right, well that's there. So first off, customer type, and you can start to go walk them through. Okay, this not necessarily customer code. I know customer code is there, but rather just go say this customer group, which will mean that you can go select the customer group for this level. So for your bronze, and normally I do drill down onto the bronze level because that's, or drill down onto bronze, or drill down onto one of the levels, just to go show that the selections do work, because otherwise people just, they don't know how these things seem to go full out themselves. Then start to go and click on the drop downs for the, and as you're going through, go say, for this customer on this level with this, for these items, then we every one time you buy it, then you go for and work through each of the columns and go and have some and go and actually make sure that that you go say for this calculation. So for every one of these items that you buy, or every time you buy more than 5 of these items, then we give you points based on, and it's 100 points based on for every 100 or greater that you go and you spend on this amount, then you get, and walk them through each and every column. That way they begin, and the entire idea is not so much to go, it's not so much that they remember what every column does, it's to bombard them with enough information that they say, wow, that's a lot of options. Because let's face it, when you're first doing this, and I certainly know that even having done this for a while, and I think you will have gotten the impression from the way I just did it, is that, you really need to go, and is that when you're doing this, you're bombarding the people with information. You really want to go get them to sit back and say, wow, that's a lot of ways I can interact with my loyalty channel with my customers. So I can really go and then customize and focus it down to exactly how they're going to get stuff. And then beyond that, go to applicable and say, hey, this screen looks familiar. That's always a great way to go do it, is, hey, this screen looks familiar. Then you don't have to go and explain the whole screen again. Because nothing kills a presentation having a similar screen pop up and then having it explained every single time. So rather this way, you just have it appear there. Then as well, finally, you can go say, and then beyond that, also, we want to go and exclude these certain exception rules, and you can do that over there. Finally, okay, right there, we did start a little bit late, so I am going to go and continue on for another, say, 5-10 minutes. finally, once you've done that and reopened your loyalty section so people can see, you can quickly go through membership group, loyalty card, membership group. You can come here to loyalty card. And if I go and I search loyalty card, and you'll see instantly, this looks very familiar, right? That this over here is now, this is all Edward Robinson's information, that this looks like it. And you can point to, or you can point out to them that the customers can be registered either as debtors in the system, particularly if you're linking through to an ERP, you can either have it registered as a debtor, or you can have it registered as a customer in the system, as a loyalty customer in the system, which means that the two aren't linked. That's quite important because a lot of times people don't want their debtors clogging, they don't want loyalty customers clogging up their debtor system in their ERP. Once again, please check how your ERP interacts with the system so that it actually fits together correctly. So, moving on, this over here, you can then go and point out how this, if you've done a section and gone through and shown, hey, this is the business partner, this is what he looks like. Let's go over here. And please remember to use this business partner, C0019 Edward, Mr. Edward Robinson. See, he is actually, when you'll actually see I have my email address there, and so will you if you go and when you load up the system, it goes and asks you for your email address for the demo. Well, that's the email address it goes and uses. So please remember that. And you can point out that it's exactly the same information that's here for both of these. It's for both of the registered loyalty customer and there. You can also just go say, hey, depends on how you want to run your loyalty. And that's one of the really important things about it. So from there, we then go click cancel, cancel again, and that really goes and shows, that's really how you can get the most out of your loyalty system. The final point that I really want to go through today, and there are other points that we can go through as well. These are things such as coupons, which is as well, people do love their coupons. Once again, depends on the customers you're dealing with, but the coupons are very important to go and actually show things, to go and actually show customers that you can do them. Otherwise, gift certificates, particularly for things like the store credit gift certificate, that's what we register it as, which is also very important for people to know about. But those two are optional. Normally, business transactions is really where people want to go and have a look for things, because remember, at the actual store, and you want to explain this to them, you're doing your goods receipts, you're doing your stock transfers, you're doing your end of day. Those are the things that retailers really care about, and that's also what's going to go drive your licensing for your system. And if they can do that at the store, as opposed to going and having to do it as opposed to having to go and have an ERP terminal at the store, that's really going to go drive it for them. Over here, we really want to go and do things like say, okay, hey, all right, now this is where you can do your goods receipts. And this is really where you can go point out that iVend is an omni-channel system. We do handle the stock. And the previous things I showed you, the promotions and the loyalty, really drive promotions. While it does handle stock, while it does handle stock, more skews towards the customer side, your loyalty pillar, that of your omni-channel, and the same thing with your loyalty. Obviously, is also more loyalty goes and drives towards that. So that over here goes and really gets together. So this over here, really you can go show, okay, we've done the loyalty side. This is now our stock side of our omni-channel. This is how we really go and fit together everything in the system. So from here we can go see things like your different dates, from warehouse to warehouse, your locations. Is it an adjustment entry? That's which is something else that you can go show. And then you can say add product, search, and please remember one of the other tips, another top tip to just go show when people are doing this is control click. Okay, please do control click or shift click. That way, because people go, yes, that's a good idea. Right. And that way they can at least understand it. Same, also it's very nice to show the import file, because the import file, you can go, hey, it's your import file, aha. You can select it and then bring it in. That way it actually goes, and that way when you look at it, when they look at it, they can say, oh, I've got a scanning solution, can I bring a text file in? Or, hey, I have a scanning solution, can I import it in? Yes, sure. Import file, and pretty much every single, pretty much Excel, every single system will be able to export into an Excel file type, and from Excel you can save it to TXT very easily. You can then bring it in over here. So that makes it very, very straightforward. That makes it very straightforward, and it also lowers those barriers. Oh no, well, we just spent a Z number of million on a, or of whatever it is on a scanning system. That way you can go say, hey, we still will work with it. And you go show, hey, it's the location, hey, it's the available quantity, units measure, quantity, price. You can even put a reason in. There we go. And once you've done that, then people go, oh, okay, makes sense. Now, the one thing I do normally do is I will go through one of these transactions. Goods receipt is generally the one because it's right up top. Then when I go to purchase order, I normally open one of the pre-set up ones here, and I do that very specifically because people don't want to go see the same screen done again and again and again. And with as much as I do love iVend, I will say one thing is that the screens are rather bland. Having said that, I've very rarely met an ERP system that after the third screen that you look at it doesn't look bland or tiring in some way. So with that in mind, rather than going and doing that, rather come across here to purchase order. Then you can start to point out things like, hey, we can do this in multiple currencies. Hey, you know, we can go set up the surcharges, the total. We can put a reason code. We can have a comment in here. You can even make sure that this thing is approved by somebody else. And yes, you can do that, by the way. It is a setup in the system that you can tick or untick, but that is something that you can follow through with. Please check your local help listings for that. And then you can go say, hey, look, and you can go see we've got these other things over here and how they work, and you can talk through the, once again, talk through the columns over here. It's better to talk through the columns than the actual fields up here. Then you can point out things like, hey, it's the item cost. Hey, it's this, and this. That way, they can see that you cover what they want and what they need. And then from there you can say, and yes, once again, when we goods receipt in the purchase order. Now you'll see over here we don't actually have a goods receipt purchase order over here, but rather click new, select your PO, and you can say, and then we draw it through, and you can play around a bit with the columns if you want. But by this point, normally in a demo, I just want to go show it, and then I want to move on with the actual demo itself. Though you do want to be careful specifically around the stock transfers and stock requests. Normally when you're doing a demo, you do not have two stores set up unless it's a custom demo. And once again, there is a reason for this. People don't normally go around with two stores set up. And you have to remember that with iVend, you do actually need to have two stores set up in order to initiate and complete a stock transfer process between there. So rather say, hey, and once again, and we've been through these columns, we've been through these fields, been through these columns. They all look familiar. You can go say yes, and then this, we bring in the items, and as I'm sure you've seen, we can then move along, and we can then do things like the stock transfer shipment or the stock transfer receipt, and create a shipment. If you really need to create a shipment in here, you don't need to go through a receipt. That's a bit overboard. Once you've done that, then you can go say, hey, goods issue. But as you can see, the screen looks exactly the same as the goods receipt one. By which point they're going to be thoroughly bored of that, and you say we can also do goods returns. You can also go point out a couple of other things in here. Inventory counting, always something that people want, right? If you want to do a small inventory count, do it. Otherwise, don't bother. Otherwise, just go say, yes, we do it. And we can go and add in our products and quickly go through it. If they want more information, always remember that if the customer wants more information, put it in. If they don't, just rather, if they're not so interested, gauge your audience and skip over it. Don't be scared to go skip over stuff. Unless remember, the customer's always going to, if the customer's interested, he's going to go say, oh, just hang on, wait a minute, what about that? And then you can go say, ah, yes, but then we do blah. And they'll go, oh, okay, all right. And that more or less brings us to, well, the final bit that I really want to go through today is is over here, which is our forecasting. Now, the forecasting is really one of those other pillars, is one of the other legs on the stock pillar that you really need to go through on these business transactions side. Now, this is something that people do need to be, that is very handy. It is a wow factor. But with this, you can also go say, okay, let's have a look at our forecast planning. What are we planning for? Right. This is our historical year. This is the year we're forecasting for, from to. Top tip, don't mess around with these settings too much, because that's where the data is in the demo database. Rather just run through and say, description, sales year, which year we're forecasting for, what is it based on? Is it based on product or this? Or it's very handy to do this drop down, another top tip, because you can point out the merchandise hierarchy, which is not very vital. It is vital for your for any of the people using a merchandise hierarchy. They really, really, really want it. So that's something else you can point out. Go, oh yes, now we've done that. And you'll see a lot of the times when I'm exiting these screens, I always click cancel. That's top tip, always click cancel unless you're really sure you want to add something in. And always make sure you're going back to this screen over here, because otherwise, yeah, it can get a bit messy. Because otherwise you can have screens open, and nothing confuses people more than having screens open and, hey, didn't we just close that screen? So from there, forecast, and then you can go and select your forecast plan, and there we go. This is why I say don't change the values in there, because otherwise you are not going to get these lovely little graphs that pop up over here and be able to drill down and say, hey, look, as we go and we drill down further into this, we can go see things like the historical sales and all the rest of it. You can fiddle around with the drop-down boxes a bit if you want. But the entire reason that we have this over here is, but the entire reason that it's set up the way it is set up is so that it does have the data there. Don't muck around with it. But this does as well inform part of your, but like I said, this is part of your omni-channel. This is actually an incredibly important part of your omni-channel, because with the stock side, stock is very concerned, not just with selling, but with purchasing, because a lot of companies, and there's a lot of examples out there where, specifically in finance, they talk a lot about this, is people being overstocked. It's the whole reason Toyota Toyota invented the just-in-time system, because you can tie up a lot of capital in stock. And there are a couple of any of you financial guys out there will know that that stock is certainly one of the things. I believe that it's one of your calculations for your ROE, or your returning less stock, because stock, even though it's there, it's capital, it's tied up. You've got to sell it. Stock is not something you can keep. Stock has got to be sold. So this over here is a way that you can go say, hey, you can forecast, you can get it in, you can get and predict exactly where you want your stock to go, when, where, and how it all fits together. All right, and yes, I do have a question. Okay, yes, it is. Oh, right, okay. Here we go. So one from Eddie. Yes, no, we can go and import. You can see we can export and import in the stock files. Yes, and it is XLS, not XLSX, right? And that is how it is. That's the format that it uses. So that just goes and that's nice, because every Excel system pretty much every system like Excel and Excel itself is going to use XLSX or be able to convert it. Any spreadsheet solution, whether it's Google Docs or whether it's OpenOffice, and you can export and import that in. And then this I believe is a well, last point that I just want to finish off on forecasting, we come across here to our actual planning scenario, and you'll see it lists our planning scenario there. And from this, you can then once again go say, does it do recommended purchases? Does it consider it? Where does it consider inventory from? La la la. You can show all these, and then you can click. Yeah, top tip. Don't forget that this date over here is going to be in the past. So click run. Though actually, the other top tip I can give you is that if an error does come up, you can go say, look, the errors are nice and clear. Never miss an opportunity to go point out the silver lining of a cloud. Here we go. And there you can go say, and this is the recommendation, and you can change the order quantity. Normally I do something like that so people can go see it, and you can go say it's a local category purchase or whatever. And then once they get this, people will understand exactly what you're talking about with the system and how it fits together with the actual omnichannel. So I think this is a good point. This is now a good point that we will go and finish at for today. All right, guys, are there, I believe that brings us to the end of our presentation for today. Are there any questions? Okay, yes, I do have one. Yes, okay. Okay, hang on, wait, here it is. Okay, yes, I do see that we, yeah, the one thing I do want to point out, yes, that I should have pointed out to you guys is that, yes, you can set this up per store as well as per location. These things consider, you might have seen these pop up. Yes, like you did there, Donald. Yep, that's correct. These actually do consider what is in the locations or not. If they're not selected, then it will go and ignore it. Just rather go tick those, and then you'll get the locations. Remember, this is generally gone and set. This will be for per warehouse. So it'll give you the options for each warehouse to go for each warehouse's locations there. Okay. Yes. Next time we're going to be looking at the reports. Yeah, and we'll look at the reporting side and just go finish off on there. This time we've just run a bit over long on time. Okay. Yes, gentlemen. I just want to go point out that the next webinar we will be holding is how to use the iVend store and how to purchase licenses. So for that, I will be going and inviting in our channel sales director from out here for Southern Africa and Eastern Europe, and he will go and help us. He will go walk us through exactly how that works, so that people know exactly how to go load up their requests into their portal, so we know exactly what's going on and how to go and get those loaded, so we can give you your licenses. All right, if that's that, I don't see any more questions. I'm going to go end this on a big thank you for everyone for going and spending the time with us. Please go and please if you have any questions, don't hesitate to get in touch with us. We're always interested, fascinated to hear your comments, remarks, replies, and whatever, and otherwise insightful insights into what we do. We're always interested in learning more. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Have a good day, good evening, or good night.